Second and third place have been on lockdown this season. Dorado and Olenek have finished in that order in the first 3 rounds every time so far. Nothing lasts forever, so surely one of them must break the trend at some point. Will it break good or bad? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ryan Walker. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Virginia International Raceway is one of the more difficult courses on offer in iRacing. Combine that with the Lotus 49, and it's going to be a downright maddening challenge. Let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more about what VIR holds in store. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. This track near the southern border of its namesake has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. With 2 decades of use in its modern incarnation and still drawing regular visits from IMSA and Trans Am, it's safe to say that VIR is back and thriving. The owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 7 versions are available to run on iRacing, with viewing areas that include posh villas near South Bend that can be rented by fans. The track's long and complex layout has earned it some colorful corner names too. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, fast cars lacking downforce are sent through the terrifying climbing S's and spit out of the steep drop of South Bend. Of course, there's perhaps the most famous turn of Oak Tree, which has sadly lost its eponymous flora in real life, but is retained here in the virtual world. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery in order to get the most out of a lap. As you'd expect, the high number of corners makes passing rather difficult. Add in the fact that many of them are dangerously swift, and track position can wind up being a major factor in races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. There we see some of VIR. This was one of the first tracks that iRacing added after their base package that they had scanned and released. But Ryan, all the drivers are going to have to tackle it in the Lotus 49. What's it going to be like combining this car and this track?
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute challenge in the Lotus 49 around this VIR track, and one of my favourites on the iRacing service. And a few little details about the track as well. That the track is 3.27 miles or 5.63 kilometres if you prefer to use that. The track was opened in 1957, but unfortunately closed back in 1974. But after a long time, it was reopened in the year 2000, and since it's hosted a whole range of series: the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, it's hosted the Michelin GT Challenge, it's hosted Trans Am, NASCAR, you name it, it's been here. And today it will be hosted the Grand Prix Legend Series, and a few corners that you'll have to keep an eye on, especially Turn 1. You can get a great run down to Turn 1, you can try and make a move, but you have to be careful. And also, you can, if you get a great run onto the back straight, you could possibly make a move down to Madison Avenue. But the drivers are going to have to be very, very careful today.
That's for sure. It is a tricky place to drive at. Let's take a look at the championship and how that sits currently. The F1 Drivers' Championship currently led by Dorado with 3 second places and Olenek in second with 3 third places. But Mick Claridge is on 2 wins. He may have scored a 0 in the second round, but he's coming back. And, well, if he keeps finishing on the top step, it won't be long before he replaces those 2 up there, I'm sure. Parigi, not too far behind, back there in 4th place, is in a very close fight with Ove Trangerade for those 4th and 5th positions. So expect those 2 to be trying to rack up podiums as well to see if they can get any higher up here in the standings. What about the F2 championships here, Ryan? What are we looking at for those?
So the F2 Championship is currently being led by Germany's Andre Schumacher, no relation to Michael, just in case anyone asks. But yeah, still got the famous Schumacher name. Second place is Finland's Jan Lehmann, a further 26 points further back. So still in contention and keeping Andre honest. So he could be the one to watch out for in this F2 Championship. Paul Foster from Australia rounds out the top 3 with Emmanuel Pereira from France in 4th place, and rounding out the top 5 is Marlon Williams in 5th place.
And of course, we have the Nations Cup because, well, they didn't have a Constructors' Championship back in '67. So, as they did back then, the Grand Prix Legend Series tries to mimic that. So, it's by country. And Brazil, of course, Ferreira leading that with them. And then you've got Olenek, of course, with the U.S., putting in three third places for them, and that's why they have them there. Trangrate for Norway has them up to third. Mick Claridge managing to help them into fourth place. And of course, we've got Italy rounding out your top five. Now, in case we've got viewers who've never watched before, Ryan, why don't you run down our race details for today's event?
Absolutely. So this is the fourth round of the 12-round season. And for anyone tuning into the series for the first time today, or is wondering what how it all works, this will be 20 laps with a standing start. This series uses a standing start, so yeah, drivers have to get practice start getting off the line with this car, which can be quite tricky. And the setup, as always, is open, so you are free to make any changes. The incident limit, as always, is 17x, and if you get to that or go over it, you will get a penalty. And if you get to 25x, you will be automatically disqualified from the race. So around a track such as VIR, this is something that the drivers will have to keep in mind.
That's certainly easy to get a little off track here and there around this place. Before we get to the qualifying, we want to remind you, if you're looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions, from official series sponsorships to commercial placements, we have advertising options customizable to suit your company's needs. Follow our link in the description below to find out more if you want to advertise on GSRC. Up at the top, as you can see on the top of your screen just now, Mick Claridge goes purple and is the fastest of any driver, takes the pole away from Dorado by a whole 0.7 of a second. That lines up with what we saw in the warm-up session a little bit earlier this morning, where he had 0.7 over Olenek. Trying to figure out where Olenek is right now, actually, as Robbo appears to have not put a time in, so he looks to have had an off on his first lap. This is Dorado that we're watching on screen currently. And as he swings it around Hogspin up the front stretch, let's see if he can make up what seems like a monstrous 0.7 to try and overcome. He goes quicker. It's a 42.9, but that's not going to be enough. He's still half a second away.
Yeah, absolutely. Rafael Dorado, pretty much the man that improved towards the end of the season massively, and this season he's putting up a good fight for the championship at the moment. And then Mick Claridge is not getting it all his own way, but Rafael, pretty much the most improved driver and one to keep a lookout for this season. And while we're in qualifying, I just want to give a shout out to the Grand Prix Legends Endurance team, who took the win in the LMP2 class at the Petit Le Mans event last weekend with Daniel Sadro, Yuri Giesen, and Roman Pawlowski. So a great result for those guys.
Claridge is able to extend his gap if he wants to. He's going to give it a try as he comes across the line. See if he can go quicker than a 42.4. Nope. He actually was 4/100 slower, so he's consistent, if nothing else. Giesen up next has managed to sneak into the top 10, at least for the time being, with a minute left in qualifying. Let's see what he's got here as he comes down by the tree. No, nothing. He had an off track somewhere on that lap, and it did not count.
As Alessio Fassini comes across the line and completes a lap, which is a 146.6, only puts him in 20th though.
Now we've got Murakami here coming down through 14th. Looks like he's got both laps in as well, as his first one didn't count and he's already completed his second lap, so he'll do no better than P14. I think we've still got Armstrong looking to set a lap, and David Beatty, who has yet to set a lap, is not on course, so he's not going to be able to come around with enough time. So let's see if Vitrano's got another one to go. No, he's already set both of his. So looks like we might have everyone set out here. Oh, Trangarade. Well, Trangarade's going to be awful tight. He might be able to do it in that number 4. He's got 20 seconds left. I don't know, Ryan. I don't think he's got enough time to get to the line here.
I think it'll be very close, but I think Trangrade, he might just run out of time as he comes round the final corner, as we're just about 5 seconds remaining. Nope, he's not going to have time to complete it.
That is a shame, because he qualified in 8th and usually has a little bit more speed than that. So let's go through our starting order. Claridge on the pole by an emphatic margin over Rafael Dorado in second place. You've got Rob Olenek starting third. That's going to be familiar to the two of them. Bill Tyler to the outside of row 2 in fourth. Sebastian Tixier in 5th with Borja Valero in P6. You've got Alessandro Parigi in 7th, followed by Uwe Trankgrad in P8, Colin Bentley in 9th, and Yuri Giesen rounding out your top 10.
Starting 11th is Paul Foster with Finland's Jan Lehmann in 12th alongside him. Chris Hengler is in 13th with Chris Marikami in 14th. 15th is Jean Van Dorn. 16th is John Olsen. 17th John Vetrano. Emmanuel Pereira in 18th. David M. Mayer in 19th. And rounding out the 20th is Alessio Pacini.
Andrew Ang puts it in 21st today with Grissinger in 22nd. Dave Cohen, good enough for P23. Andre Bruno starts 24th today. He'll be followed by Kenneth Carlson on the inside of the next row. You've got Eugenio Massa in 26th and Douglas Nelson in 27th. Bobby Labonte in 28th. Is that the Bobby Labonte? We'll have to check on that. Laust Olsen, first one to not put a time in 29th. James Armstrong in 30th. Christoph Lobelich in 31st. Robert Reynolds in 32nd. And David Beatty in 33rd. Well, we might just have a NASCAR star with us here today, so that'll be cool to figure out if that is the actual driver. We understand that it's from the Carolina region, so not sure if that is in fact him, but there is a possibility. We'll try and confirm later. Would certainly be awesome, as I grew up watching him racing on TV, so definitely a fan. As we wait for the clock to tick down, and Mick Claridge is already out on the grid. In fact, we're just waiting on David Beatty, the last of the drivers, who finally lines up with all 33 of our runners ready to go. The engines start to rev and the lights come up. Green flag is out. And it's a decent start for Claridge. He's going to be able to hold Dorado back. Olenek looks good in the first part of the start. Bill Tyler under threat from Tixier, who looks to the inside, almost a contact between our first two as they slow up for the horseshoe. Everyone behind them tiptoeing their way around this double apex right-hander, and it looks like it is a good start for all.
Yeah, so far so good. It looks like there's no issues at the moment, and Mick Claridge's got a great start off the line along with Rafael Dorado, and at the moment, as they're coming through this tight twisted section, this is where it all could kick off.
Yeah, things get very, very technical. You can see running through the snake, Mick Claridge leading them through, and then it is a very quick run through the uphill S's into South Bend. This is where it can go wrong oh so easily. Looks like the top three are stretching away, but Bill Tyler in that fourth position, very much under threat from Tixier behind him.
Absolutely, as they come through this double right-hander up into Oak Tree Corner, where unfortunately the tree's not on the inside in real life anymore. But anyway, as they come down this back straight, heading down to Madison Avenue, and Mick Claridge at the moment starting to just build up a slight gap with Dorado in second, and Olenek rounding out the top three as we come towards the end of lap one.
So far, so good. Only driver I've seen off is Doug Nelson, way far back, but he just went a little bit off at South Bend, and otherwise as good as this little bit of side-by-side we saw in the background heading into the roller coaster. That is tricky to do. Bentley involved with that. Paul Foster, Lehman, Murakami, all the way back around 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Yeah,
fantastic battle going on between these guys at the moment, and Chris Marikami under pressure, heading onto the home straight from a few cars behind him, but it looks like at the moment everyone's just being sensible just about, and it looks like John Van Dorn is trying to make a move.
Yeah, much of the action seems to be in the mid-pack as we were watching the number 17 there of Van Dorn. He was looking to attack Pereira, but didn't quite go off. They all get single file once again as they come up to NASCAR Bend. Pereira holding him off well as Van Dorn is trying every which way to get by.
Yeah, he's looking really feisty at the moment, and can't really do anything at the moment as again we're coming in up to this tight section of the track where you can't really make a move due to it being a one line section, and everyone at the moment in the first two laps have been really sensible.
Up in that fourth place, I think Tixier is doing a good job of trying to rattle Bill Tyler, because we've seen him have a little slide here and there. But the number 5 exits out of Oak Tree, that critical run down the backstretch, and this is looking very good for Sebastian.
Yeah, as we watch from the rear of Bill Tyler's car, and Tixier is getting closer, but I don't think he's going to be close enough as we come to the end of the straight up to Madison Avenue, and nope, he's not close enough.
Ooh, another slide. Big mistake there from Bill Tyler. He takes advantage. Sebastian goes the long way around, and I think he's got it done down into Hogpin. Move him up to 4th.
Fantastic move from Texier. He managed to crack or basically make Bill Tyler make a mistake, and he took the chance and he pounced and gained a position as Raphael. Oh, is Ovi Trengridge off the track? Oh, he's not off.
Looks like, yeah, I think that was David Beatty, who looks like somewhere at the back of the field, he took a tow. That's why we saw him suddenly appear up at the top on our timing and scoring. And meanwhile, this battle is not over. Not only is Bill Tyler sticking with Sebastian, but look at this. Those two fighting has allowed Parigi in the number 8 to get right on his gearbox.
Yeah, Parigi's just watching there in the background, and he's just maybe planning what he's going to do if he gets a run on Tyler, who's been making some slight mistakes a little bit, and he's lost a position to Texier. He could lose another position to Parigi as we come up through this fast section of the track, one of my favourite parts of VIR, and yeah, it's Parigi. I think it's just a matter of time before he gets by.
And don't need to go to it, but the number 26 of Chris Hendler had a big spin down at an NASCAR bend. He lost a number of positions, so that falls him down to 18th. He continues on without making any contact. So we watch this battle for 4th stretch its way up towards the roller coaster. Sebastian looking a lot better here, pulling a gap back to Bill Tyler, but Tyler keeping himself at arm's length from Parigi as well as they all get on the binders once again.
Yeah, the battle for P8 is going on at the moment. It looks like oh, it's a car in the background.
That's Foster. Paul Foster at the number 14, unfortunately losing it under braking, has to wander a long ways back to the course, and I think another train is going to go by. This is being led by Pereira. Vetrano goes through, and it looks like Van Dorn is going to be able to sneak by before he stops the bleeding. Let's take a look at how this happened initially. Just too much on the brakes here, potentially?
Yeah, it could be under braking. It might be... Oh, I think it might have just been a case of maybe too much brake bias in the rear.
It certainly looks like it. It just slowly kind of came around, and it frustratingly didn't have much to catch it as we come back live now, and he's stuck in a different pack instead.
Yep, and it looks like this pack is starting to build up as well. It's got John Van Dorn included in it, and it's starting to build up a little bit. And you've got John Van Dorn, Paul Foster, Dave Cohen, Kenneth Carlson, Laus Olsen, and it's starting to get slightly bigger.
Carson in the middle of that group had a little bit of an off himself, but he gets back on track. Seems to be a common theme that I'm noticing. A lot of drivers not hitting anything, but just kind of wandering into the weeds. But look at that. Wow, just love that helicopter shot we had heading up through the climbing S's, following these two packs, because it looks like it's splitting. Pereira and Vetrano now starting to gap Van Dorn behind them. Yeah,
they're starting to pull away, and it looks like these guys in this pack anyway seem to be the quickest cars at the moment, and they just ahead of this pack as well. Yeah, you've got Chris Marikami as well, so Chris Marikami could be having could have a large train behind him in no time.
As we jump back to take a look at that fight here in 10th place, Lehman still holding on to him. They're going to exit out of Hogpen. It's a rather steep climb uphill, you can see, coming over the crest past the pit entry. The number 7 has himself a nice little gap to the number 15, at least for this time, heading into the horseshoe, so no attempt from him for that 10th place.
Yep, and it seems to be, at the moment anyway, hopefully I don't jinx it, but it seems to have settled down ever so slightly just throughout the field in general. And sorry to interrupt, but Jan Lehmann has had a sideways moment and manages to save it.
Yeah, just almost lost the car and then comes back with it. You can see that cost him some time. Let's see what it looks like from his perspective and see how you catch this old machinery.
Yeah, as he cut under braking it, and he just loses his rear end, and they managed to just hold it. And a great example of Finnish car control.
And it didn't look like there was any panic. It's just one motion to catch the car and then continues on like nothing happened. Let's take a look at our leader, Mick Claridge. Now, with the qualifying gap, I would have thought that he'd leave Dorado behind, but look at this. The number 3 of Rafael is still within half a second and has been this way for much of the race. I'm a little bit surprised at this, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well. Normally in Mick Claridge, you see him like just pull away and just build up a bit of a gap and then maintain that gap for the rest of the race. But at the moment, Rafael Dorado has closed him back down and he's keeping Mick Claridge honest. And honestly, if Mick Claridge at the moment, I think he might just be looking after the tyres, or maybe his tyre pressures might not be suiting the track temperatures at the moment. And Rafael Dorado is just taking every chance he can get and just trying to get Mick to make a mistake.
And they're coming up on lap traffic. It's back row Bob first up. He's usually pretty polite about managing to let them through, gives them some instructions over the radio, and a little bit there with Dorado getting inconvenienced, but not drastically. He won't lose too much except for a tenth or two.
As they come up to this fast section of the track again, going uphill, and yeah, it's such a fun part of the track, this VIR, especially in the Lotus 49, because you're just on the edge and you're just trying to control the car at the same time, and it's so much fun.
Looks like Olenek behind them has managed to get through. Speaking of which, Rabo is dropped to about 4 seconds behind, so very much streaming away. And you can see the gap there on your screen. That is Rabo way in the background in third.
And they're right around. Sorry, Joe.
I was going to say, and this is a good opportunity for Trangarade, a much better exit out of Oak Tree. He's already managed to get a nose ahead, and Parigi's got no answer as a smooth move from the number 4 gets him into 6th.
Yeah, it was a great move by the white Norwegian driver, managed to get the move done. And Ovi Trangarade, he's, I guess, well, I'm not used to seeing him this far back in the pack. Normally he's up there challenging for podiums and wins, but maybe just the nature of the track not suiting his setup or suiting his driving style.
It's a pretty narrow track, and he likes to run it sideways, so I wonder if that's making it a little bit treacherous for him around here. We're not halfway through yet, so he's made progress, 2 positions up from where he started. We'll see if he can climb 2 seconds up to Bill Tyler, who unfortunately has been going the other direction. He started 4th, he's down to 5th.
Yeah, Bill Tyler just can't, maybe just not used to the track, and maybe just not afraid to push, but maybe just taking it more cautious and just maybe just settling for a top 5 result as it stands at the moment, as the battle for P16 is going on at the moment with Laus Olsen and Dave Cohen and also Alessio Pascini in the background. So yeah, this battle's been going on for a few laps now, and Olsen is under attack from this.
Whoa!
Oh,
that is Foster ahead of them, taking a bit of an alternate line, and unfortunately losing a position because of it. He gets the car going once again. He was trying on Van Dorn and just slipped up in the braking in a NASCAR bend.
Yeah, Foster done well to save that, and I thought he was going to spin round for a second, but managed to just hold it.
We've had an accident behind them. Kenneth Carlson in the number 28 and David Meyer also in NASCAR bent. And I think this was a coming together. Yes, it was. Looks like Meyer getting clipped by Carlson. Yeah, we're going to take another look at this replay. Boy, NASCAR Bend's been calamity corner today. We've seen so many offs and near spins.
Yeah, look at the replay. It was just a slight bit of contact, and both of them get unsettled, and both of them do what is it, synchronized off-roading. So yeah, I have to agree though, that corner, it's really easy to make a mistake, especially if you lose your focus around here.
So we come back live, back to Olsen once again. Instead of him being on top of Armstrong, who makes a mistake, Armstrong goes off at the roller coaster. Both of them are going to get by, so Van Dorn and Olsen grab a spot. Foster gets through, Cohen and Pascini. Boy, that was a costly mistake. Just one little slip up, and he loses 5 positions.
It's such an easy section to make a mistake in. If you run wide or just maybe carry too much speed or lose your concentration, it's so easy to just run wide, especially in that section, because it's just, yeah, you've got some grass to go off on, but it's so hard to keep your focus sometimes.
Small correction for myself. Armstrong was a lap down, so that was not for position. Guess he just let them by easily. Let's stick with this battle here on screen. Van Dorn and Olsen continue to try and fight for P14. They come out of the left hook and into the snake. It's awful close between the two of them. We've already seen the pressure get to one driver. I wonder if Olsen can do this with another now.
Possible as they come up through this fast section again, heading uphill, and at the moment Van Dorn, he's not slow, but maybe just kind of just being a little bit careful and not trying to make any mistakes. But behind him, he's got Olsen, he's got Foster, so he needs to keep an eye on, but he also needs to keep an eye on front. Otherwise, he'll just end up looking in the mirror too much and maybe just make a slight mistake.
Back onto the back stretch as they start to pick up speed. These cars get so fast down that long run, already up to 180 miles an hour, and they have no wings for downforce, so those things just bounce around. But no attempt this time as Olsen seemed to lose out towards the end of the straight. They'll continue on behind them. A little bit of a lockup from Dave Cohen allows Piscini to get right on top of him.
Yeah, as they come onto the home straight now, and it looks like Cassini's got a great run on the exit of the final corner. He might be able to get a run on Cohen heading down to turn one, but at the moment it looks like he's getting close, but not close enough to try and make a move.
Yeah, that's behind them, down for 17th. Cohen going to be able to hold him back. That was a big lockup between Van Dorn and Olsen down into the horseshoe. This is essentially a train of five with a small break there between Foster and Cohen. Otherwise, they have been locked together for much of this race.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on the lead battle as well up at the front, and the gap is about, it was 0.3 of a second, but it's back up to about half a second now. So it's kind of the gap is going up and down sometimes.
Yeah, it's been tight. And actually, whoa, it's down to 0.2 there for a second. Wonder if we got a mistake from Mick Claridge. I'm going to check on it now because Dorado is as close as he's been as he rides in the slipstream as they pick up speed, 170 miles an hour around the fast sweeper, past the front stretch, down into the horseshoe. He doesn't take a look, but he is filling the mirrors of that number one machine.
Yeah, Rafael Dorado is just absolutely on it at the moment. Like I said at the start of the broadcast, he's massively improved in this series since last season, and he's up there challenging for the championship. And I think if he gets a run on Claridge, he's got to try and make a move as quickly as possible and try and pull away if he can.
This is probably the best opportunity we've seen from Dorado. Wonder if he'll be able to pounce here. Opportunities seem to come so rarely at this track, despite the high speeds, Ryan. It seems like it's awful difficult to try and overtake.
Yeah, especially through this section they're coming through now. It's so difficult to try and make a move. But I was just watching Mick Claridge coming up the hill through that fast section. He over one of the curves, he got airborne big time and managed to amazingly keep control of the car.
Just a quick update: Bill Tyler lost 5th to Parigi with an off coming out of left hook. He continues on. We'll head back down to 15th position. Van Dorn and Olsen, I believe, have swapped spots. And it looks like Olsen is already taking off. I think this happened on the backstretch, actually. Yes, it did. We're going to watch from onboard Foster's view as he's now climbed up to the back of Van Dorn. This gives us a good idea of how hair-raising it can be around this track.
Yep, as they come through to this double right-hander now, and Van Dorn, he just seems to be, like I say, he's maybe just he doesn't want to push too much, and he's more than happy just to maybe just lose a position or two and just play it safe and make it to the end of the race. But Van Dorn, he's trying to keep Foster behind him at bay, but I think it's just a matter of time before Foster gets by him and just starts pulling away.
A little bit of a poke from Foster. Oh, and behind them, side by side between Cohen and Piscini into the roller coaster, but doesn't look like Piscini is able to pull it off. Cohen will stay ahead in 17th. This has been a fierce fight among these 5.
It's been fantastic to watch. They've not got a battle just up at the front, but in the midfield as well. We've got battles going on everywhere, and it's fantastic to watch. And just proof that the Grand Prix Legends series, wherever you watch, the battle. We've also got a battle going on between Gießen and Pierre Gießen by the looks of it.
Had a little bit of a mistake from Murakami. He was all over the top. Looks like he got unsighted into NASCAR Bend, and another car going off at that corner. He managed to keep it out of the barriers, but he cost himself an opportunity.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because that was shaping up to be a great battle. But Chris Murakami, he's actually not fallen that far back by the looks of it, and he's again closing down on Yuri Gießen real quickly.
So as you can see, the car's still whole, so no harm, no foul. Just a little bit of a bruised ego for him. That battle that we left before between Foster and Van Dorn remains very, very tight as they... Oh, and behind them and off! A big off, Passini into the wall hard. The number 13 crawls it back on, but I don't know how well that thing's going to handle after he smashed it into the tires.
Yeah, and it looks like he might have just lost it. Lost it on the exit, or maybe just clipped the... Well, he just lost it by himself, and boom, that was it.
So that car gets very light over that crest out of South Bend. Amazingly, he's still going at relative pace. I don't think he's going to be at full pace, but he had it really hustling down the backstretch. So we come back live. It looks like our leaders are within 0.4 of a second still. Now, fascinatingly, I noticed at one point here, Walker, that Claridge set the fastest lap immediately after he had his mistake and had Dorado right on top of him. He got it up to 0.9 of a second. Now, Raphael's closed it into within 0.3, so it's starting to yo-yo a bit here.
Yeah, it looks like as I've got this went by a lap car, it looks like Claridge, when he made that mistake, got the hammer down and, like you say, put in the fastest lap. But Rafael Dorado is just not letting him go. He's putting the pressure on, trying to pressure Claridge into a mistake. But at the moment, Mick is just managing to keep his composure. Yeah, he's under pressure, but he's not doing anything too erratic. But Rafael Dorado is doing an absolutely fantastic job.
All he needs is one little mistake from Mick Claridge, and he is probably going to be pouncing. We're down to 8 laps to go, so we're past halfway at this point, and they are not under threat. Olenek still about 6 seconds behind and not showing any signs that he will be catching them.
Absolutely not, and Rob Olenek basically just falling back from these guys, so it's the battle for the win is between these two guys at the moment. And Rafael Dorado, there's a battle between Cohen and Foster going on at the moment for P16.
That was Foster trying to catch on Van Dorn, and he made a mistake into Oak Tree. Actually made a miraculous escape not to hit anything. Look at this. Oh! Just kind of skirts the barriers, and that is Cohen saying, "Thank you very much. I will take that position."
Yeah, it's a scary section of the track if you go off there. It's basically, as soon as you go off and you see the wall coming towards you, it's basically hold on, hope for the best and just take a deep breath.
Looks like Pereira lost a spot to John here in the number 16. How did this one happen? Oh, and I think Pereira got unsighted by the lap traffic. Yep, look at this. 3 wide down into the horseshoe. Yeah, I would be shaken by that too.
Yeah, that was a bit... I thought I was going to end up in disaster, but all 3 of them managed to survive just. But yeah, that was a bit of a heart and mouth moment.
So understandably, he went off track and had to gather it up, lost a spot because of it. And Vetrano now into 12th as we come back to our top 2 once again, just teasing us all race long. As Dorado is tired of these second places, probably. However, he did say at Interlagos that he's been happy getting P2, racking up those points, knowing that's how you win a championship. Question is, how many times can he lose out on wins to Mick Claridge and still take the overall points lead? As As we ride on board, watching, look at that. Those hands just saw away through some of these portions.
Yep, and yeah, Raphael, by the sound of it, he's just using that the method that Alan Prost used to use sometimes when he won a championship. Just kind of take the results and take the points sometimes instead of trying to go for a win in every race. But Rafael Dorado, I think he'll probably be growing frustrated at missing out on wins. I think especially being in contention of a championship, you've got to win a race, and you've just got to sometimes go for it.
You know, speaking of Prost, I kind of wonder too if Raphael continues to be able to hold onto the back of Mick like this at every race. Eventually, Mick's got to make some sort of mistake and let him through. He'll be able to snatch a win. So he's at least putting himself in the position to be able to pick up the pieces, even if he hasn't been able to find the pace to attack and take the spot away. Also, look at this lap traffic. That could play a part in things. They continue to hit it in this round. Michael Grissinger up next in front of them. We've already seen a few drivers make errors from that. Grissinger is going to call them to get through on the inside of the horseshoe. Nice and easy there.
Yep, great awareness by the lap car. He let them go really easy without causing any issues. And Mick Claridge is slightly took advantage of that, managed to build up a bit of a gap, but as you come up through this twisty section again, it seems this seems to be where Raphael can just close up really quickly, because his car seems to be more stable through here.
He's taken a lot of curb, I'm noticing, which, oh, that's braver than I would have been if I was out there driving today. I know I got all unsettled whenever I hit those gray curbs around here, because they can get kind of tall, but just look at him climb over the top of them. Something about the setup in that number 3 is allowing him to be very aggressive. Granted, he has lost a couple tenths. It's down to 0.7 of a second behind Mick Claridge as they come off of Oak Tree one more time.
Yep, and Mick Claridge has actually built up. He's increased that gap ever so slightly, but as you come up to the final sector, and Rafael Dorado's fallen back slightly, so maybe just maybe had a bad exit on the exit of Oak Tree. Oh, as always, Mick Claridge makes a mistake.
That's what he's been waiting for, but he's not close enough to capitalize. Just when Dorado would have been wanted to be on that gearbox, he had fallen away. Claridge, uncharacteristic of him, slipping around through the roller coaster, and down to 5 laps to go.
And Mick Claridge is starting to feel the pressure now by the looks of it, and is getting very twitchy on the braking for turn 1, and Dorado closes right up. This is the closest that Dorado has ever been, and Dorado just needs to hit every corner perfect, or close as perfect as possible. But I should say, as I try and get my words out. But Mick Claridge is starting to feel rattled
as he follows in the tire tracks of the number 1. Dorado desperately looking for a win this season. Been the bridesmaid every round so far, and sits in that same spot once again as they head up through the climbing S's. He's got it back down to 0.4 of a second. He's kept it within 1 second this entire race, never letting go, but never being close enough to actually get side by side to that yellow and black Lotus 49 in front of him.
And this is a section where Claridge seems to be able to just pull away from Dorado ever so slightly. So maybe Rafael Dorado is he's set the car up for like the first and the middle sector, and Claridge has set the car up for the final sector, and it seems to be showing at the moment.
Up to the top of the hill in the roller coaster, highest point on the circuit. Then they'll plunge back downhill into Hogpen, one of the lowest points. As they pick up speed here on the front stretch, this is where they need that exit. Keep it safe up into the horseshoe, and Claridge looking very strong here now, starting to pick up the pace once again as they cross the start-finish line. A 42.5, just a tenth off of his quickest lap so far in this race, locking up the brakes into the first corner. Dorado clearly pushing to keep up with him.
Absolutely, he's just absolutely wringing the neck out of this car, and he's just doing everything to try and keep up with Mick Claridge. And Mick Claridge, he made that slight mistake, but he managed to keep hold of the car and keep it on track, but Rafael Dorado is just absolutely giving it everything, and I think there's nothing more he can do. He's just got to keep going for it and keep pushing, otherwise he'll lose touch with Mick.
And with a dramatic flair, this is our closest fight on the track. Nobody else is near enough to each other for a battle. With down to 4 to go now, Dorado is starting to run out of time to make something happen, but he can see cracks in the wall. Claridge has been making mistakes here and there, but can we see Dorado make something out of it as we ride on board, looking over his right shoulder? It's up to 9/10. Claridge, is he able to hold him at arm's length this race and keep him back in second once again?
As we come up to this downhill section now, and Dorado closes up slightly, but it just seems to be Mick Claridge is just doing the perfect job to maintain that gap, and every time Dorado gets close, Mick's just managing to increase that gap ever so slightly, or just make it big enough that he's able to control it.
They are so tight on pace. Their fastest lap is a 7/1000th apart. It is that close between them. This time through, Dorado with a 43 flat compared to Claridge's 42.7. He pulls about 0.3 away. They've gapped Olenek up to 10 seconds now. The number 2 car has no answer for them, but the good news for Rob is even though it'll be another third place for him, he is 15 seconds ahead of Uwe Trangerade, who has now climbed up to P4 from 8th place. So Uwe has done a great job trying to get himself up from a poor qualifying. 5th place in the meantime, Parigi now has Tixier, who, remember, fell back a little bit and is now back up to 6th, looking to be back where he started in P5.
Absolutely. This battle's been brewing up for a while, and it's all starting to kick off rather in the closing stages, and Parigi and Tixier have been going at it for ages, and it's nothing to separate these guys. As looks like Parigi got a slight bit of understeer on the exit of the corner there, but managed to stay in front of Sebastian. And yeah, these guys battling away for P5, but not too far behind either. They've got Bill Tyler, so if any of these two in front of him get caught up, Tyler could be the one to pick up the pieces and pick up a couple of positions.
Oh! A big mistake, and how did he catch that car? Parigi should have lost it by all counts, but somehow keeps it together through the climbing S's and only loses 1 place. Can we get an onboard replay with the number 8 machine? I've done this myself and absolutely chucked it into the barriers. Full lock, absolute full lock in the grass, and just catches it as soon as it comes onto the pavement. Incredible.
I'm amazed he managed to hold that. I thought he was going into the barrier of the tyre wall for a second there, but amazingly he managed to keep hold of that. And yeah, wow, just I've got no other words for that.
He's got what looks like an Air Force inspired scheme on that car, and he was about flying straight into the wall, but saved it somehow. Certainly showing some guts in that number 8. Parigi continues in P6, and I think we've had a mistake from Dorado because he's up to 1.7 seconds, and I think it happened on this lap. I'm trying to find it. I'm not seeing anything super dramatic from him. Unusual stuff. He just drops back. Dorado having problems here. It's up to 2 seconds now as he goes by a lapped car. That is Ang that is off course. So we're going to get the white flag this time by from Mick Claridge, who's got himself the biggest gap he's had all race long. He's won 2 of the first 3 rounds. He's looking to make it a 4 for 3. The number 1, I don't believe he'll be able to take over the points lead if he takes this victory, but it is going to make him 1 step closer, and I think he might overtake Rob Olenek, who sits back in 3rd.
Yeah, I think he will. So it was a great battle for the lead and a great battle for the win, but Mick Claridge again just pulling it out the bag in the closing stages when he has to, and just increase that gap. And as much as Rafael Dorado put up a fight, it's all been in vain.
Yeah, if it finishes how it is, he'll be tied on points with Olenek, but he'll be ahead on wins since Olenek has yet to take a victory so far this season. But he will not be ahead of Dorado, who I think he'll still be 5 points behind. So as they work their way through, this is Rabo in his now traditional Tiger stripes. He's going to have to find some fierceness and some speed if he wants to get himself up higher in the points. But this man, Mick Claridge, the one mistake he's had so far, at least the one mistake that has cost him a win, as we got a car off in front of him. That's just Dave Cohen, unfortunately losing some positions with that mistake as he gets it going out of Oak Tree without hitting anything. Rob Olenek chasing our top two. Mick Claridge lets it come back down to 1.5 seconds, but he can afford to lose a little bit of time to Rafael Dorado. Something of a protege in this series. There's more incidents happening in front of him. He's got to stay safe, and it might be something not of his doing. Whoa, big accident. That was Van Dorn and Piscini having a big accident. We'll get back to a replay of that in a second. But Mick Claridge avoids disaster. Talk about heart in your throat stuff. Claridge takes the win, having to go underneath a flipping car here at VIR.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well-deserved one for Mick, but that was a great battle between him and Rafael Dorado. And Rob Olenek will round out the podium in third place as it comes across the line. And Norway's the battle between Parigi and Tyler is going on at the moment as they're coming round to the final few corners. You know, it's like Parigi will just hold on to his position, but Tyler's putting him under huge pressure, trying to get him to make a mistake. They're coming round the final corner now, and it looks like Alessandro Parigi will just hold on for P6 with Bill Tyler in P7 as they come up to the start-finish line.
Nicely done by Alessandro. Get himself sixth place. We've got an overtake between Gieson and Murakami, as it looks like Murakami going to be able to slip into ninth with less than half a lap to go. A little bit off track. Gieson holds on to it. Two wheels into the grass. That doesn't often go well in Hogpen, but he'll manage to bring it home.
Yeah, great result for Murakami and Gieson. Rounded out the top 10, and the battle between Andrew Eng and Chris Hengler is going on at the moment. And
I think that one looks to be over. They are a lap down, yeah, so they are done for the day. Now, let's try and look at Piscini here, at what happened with this incident. Trying to pull it up. Car actually going up and over. We're watching from Mick's perspective. This is Van Dorn and Piscini. And is Piscini a lapped car? Or are they actually battling for... I think they're battling for position here. They just touch wheels.
Yeah, I think they were, and I'm amazed that Mick managed to get through that and just missed the corners. But yeah, that was probably a bit of a hold your breath in moment.
Well, he sticks to the landing, so I'll give it a 7.5. But we'll have to go to break here as we have some thrilling stuff right at the end of the race. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. We just watched an exciting race for the lead, only separated by less than a second for much of the race itself. But Mick Claridge manages to win over Rafael Dorado, who takes his fourth second place in a row. Rob Olenek with his fourth third place in a row behind them, a distant final step of the podium. Ove Trangrade with a poor qualifying goes from 8th to P4, ahead of Sebastian Tixier in the 5th position. Alessandro Parigi finishes P6 and Bill Tyler in 7th position. Colin Bentley finished 8th today. You got Chris Murakami in 9th, and then Yuri Giesen finishes exactly where he started, in 10th spot.
John Vitrano started in 17th but managed to finish in 11th, so a great result for him. Finland, Jan Lehmann finished season 12th. Laus Olsen in 13th, 14th was Paul Foster, 15th was John Olsen with Dave Cohen in 16th, 17th was Andrew N, 18th was Chris Hemler, John Van Dorn finishes in 19th, and starting in 20th and finishing in 20th was Alessio Piscini.
Got Andre Bruno finishing 21st with Grissinger in 22nd. Massa finishes P23 today. Last car one lap down was Doug Nelson. From there down, you get drivers who had very bad days, many of them DNFing. But we've got our winner here with us, Mick Claridge, who once again manages to take his third win out of 4 races. Mick, you had to endure quite a bit of pressure, and it wasn't mistake-free. We saw a few bobbles here and there, but you kept it up at the top today.
Oh, listen, mate, I'm just glad I made it through the chicane on lap 3, because that has done me for the last 3 races, and it's always been cold tyres. So, yeah, I had to really hold back. I think I'm running less pressure than Rafael. I'm not too sure. I have to wait to see what he says. But, yeah, it's weird at the moment. I think you saw at the end there, we've got a bit of a gap, and I think that's when the tyres come in again. I think it's the old thing, Joe, what we used to know about years and years ago in this car. I think it's come back. So yeah, tough race, man. Tough, bloody hell. I was on the limit, mate, trying to, keep ahead of him. Yeah, he doesn't muck about, does he?
Yeah, I was just saying during the broadcast that if he holds behind you every race like that, eventually he's got to sneak something out of you. But you made a big deal about going through that chicane. I feel like the end of the race probably would have been a little bit more scary this time. Tell us about seeing that wreck in front of you on the last lap.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Do you know what? I actually thought to myself, I think they're going to wreck. As they went into the right-hander sort of side by side, I thought it was going to happen. So I sort of planned for it, and I just held a tight line. And I was just lucky that I chose the right line. So yeah, but just a bit of foresight, I think, really there.
Yeah, those racers' instincts coming in handy. Now, you're still not in the points lead, but you're clearly climbing your way back. Rafael's making this at least something of a fight. I mean, do you feel like he's got one coming to him at some point this season? You're going to try and lock him out?
No, I won't be able to lock him out. He does too many laps during the week practice. He'll get one, and then it's going to be that thing when he does get one, he's going to get a lot. I think that's what's going to happen with him, because that's just the kind of guy he is, I think. He's definitely got the speed. Maybe didn't have it in qualifying today, and it's really tough to to get a pass done if the guy in front doesn't really stuff up, by coming off the track here. So no, there's going to be times where we're going to have some serious races. He's going to get it soon, I think. He's only been here a season, mate.
Yeah, and impressive seeing how quickly he's come through. Well, congratulations on another victory, sir, and we'll hope to see you again next week.
Well, thank you, sir.
That was Mick Claridge, who's very familiar with us here on GSRC, even commentated on this series with me for a little while. But up next, Ryan has caught up with the, once again, bridesmaid, Rafael Dorado.
Yeah, Rafael finishing in second place, but he was there and thereabouts challenging for the win, giving Mick Claridge a good battle. But unfortunately, Rafael, you missed out in the win, and again, you finished in second. I guess you might be slightly frustrated, but on the other hand, you must be really good with the pace that you're showing at the moment in the Lotus 49.
No, I wouldn't say I'm frustrated at all. I'm very happy coming second place again, even though I really want to win. But I also have to be realistic. Mick Claridge is a 4-time GSRC champion and also a 10-time iRacing official championship champion. So he is really, really tough to beat. And I am not surprised that I am always coming second place. And also congratulations to him on winning this race. This is a really difficult track. And every time I was able to get a bit closer and put some pressure, he would make a perfect lap and then open a gap again. And it was the whole race like that. He would open a little gap and I would close it again, and then he would open and I would close it again. Also, I think because this track is so difficult, when you are really close to the car in front, you cannot see your reference points, and the track is so narrow that it's very difficult to not make any mistakes yourself when you're following the car in front very closely.
And what did you think of the Lotus 49 around VIR? Is it a track you would love to come back to for next season, or is it kind of what do you think?
Oh yeah, it was my first time in this track and I love it. It's a very challenging track, very difficult. I think of all the tracks that I have driven in the 49 so far, this one was the one that I crashed the most during practice. And I usually don't crash at all, even in practice. But this time, every time I was in the car, I was crashing all the time. It took a really long time for me to build the confidence and the consistency to be ready to race this week. But I like the track, and I hope we'll see it again many more times.
And looking at Imola next week, have you ever raced around there? And do you think you can finally beat Mick and take your first one of the season?
I have no idea. It's always a surprise where Mick will be fast or not. And once again, Imola is going to be a new track for me. I've never driven there before. So it's going to be a double challenge of first learning the track and then trying to keep up with Mick.
And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a thank you to?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my mates in Brasilia who are watching, Daniel, Marcius. Also, my parents are watching. And so thank you for watching, guys.
Good stuff. As I say, that was second place finisher, Rafael Dorado, for joining us in the booth. And they just missing out in the one, but took a second place finish. And I have to say, Joe, if that race is anything to go by, I think we should be in for an absolute fantastic race at Imola next week.
No doubt it's going to be another very tough one, especially for this car that does not like chicanes typically. A big thank you goes out to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But also we give a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Ryan, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com or check out our social media outlets. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we got a merchandise store at gsrc.storenv.com. Another one with a link in the description below. And while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to our channel. As we mentioned, the next race is going to be Imola. That'll be Saturday, October 17th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including one in a couple hours. The Camels GT Series will be at Daytona's road course, except this time it'll be the NASCAR version. That'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.